Welcome to In General, the Jurassic Outpost podcast. My name's Jack. I'm joined with Caleb.
Hey, good to be here.
And I'm joined with Assis. Welcome, man.
Welcome. Thank you for having me again. I feel like such an honored guest now. Oh, what the hell? We had to restart.
It's not a podcast without Assis or his phone going off, apparently. There is a lot to talk about today. There is some good stuff we want to hone in on. However, I think it's important that we mention. I don't really know how to mention it, but obviously, rest in peace, Jimmy Buffett. That was a pretty sad story to read.
Yes,
Savior of
sad.
margaritas in Jurassic World. That guy. Yeah.
That's it. I've been to Margaritaville once, and that was at JP25. What a memory.
I will specifically target out Margaritavilles because of Jamie Buffett and his role in Jurassic World. Small, but pretty iconic cameo, we'll say. Rest in peace, legend.
Incredible musician, had a massive impact on lots of people. So yeah,
just
R.I.P.
toured for almost what seems like his entire life was just on
Yeah.
tour.
Especially in his elderly age too. The guy was just kicking forever. Good
legit best friend of Frank Marshall.
Yeah, that was honestly, it's been really sad
tweet.
to see. Super like out of the blue as well. I mean, I'm sure people knew that he was going through what he was going through, but I didn't. And
Yeah,
it just kind of came out of the blue and was kind of sad. But what a legend! And his cameo in Jurassic World is funny, very very on point, right?
yeah.
Iconic enough for our friend of the show, Steven, dressed up once as him. Iconic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was great. Yeah, no, that's pretty sad. What we'll have to do is we'll have to pay tribute to him at the next event. I mean, there wasn't an event in JP30, which is sad, but maybe next year Jurassic Outpost will host an event in celebration of Jurassic Park's 30th anniversary on the 31st anniversary. Maybe we should do that.
Celebrate
Maybe we should do it.
JP3's 30th.
Maybe we should do it at Margaritaville.
I mean, that's the natural spot. Like, if we're going to a restaurant, meet up and dinner at Margaritaville. Drinks.
That's it. That's where we start. That's where we end. What happens in between? I don't know.
Stays between us.
But let's talk about some stuff. So before we jump into the main topic, there is a few things that came out, I think. So the Life on Our Planet, Amblin's new television show. Tell us about that, Caleb.
Yeah, I am really excited about it. I'm like extremely cautiously optimistic about it, obviously, because I haven't seen it yet. But like, I was a big fan of, or am a big fan of, Prehistoric Planet, and us dinosaur fans / dinosaur documentary fans are getting so many good things lately. And this looks to be like, I mean, it's produced by Amblin and ILM is involved, and Spielberg is exec producing, and so like I think it has the potential to be really cool. It's about, I mean, it involves dinosaurs, but it also involves like Ice Age creatures and creatures all the way in between those two eras, just the origins of life on Earth in general. But lots of dinosaurs, lots of mammoths and thylacines and all of those cool things too. So yeah, it looks really, really good. So October 25th, I think, on Netflix. But yeah,
it did make me wonder because it's Amblin Television producing it. I think, right? Amblin Television. If that's still
I like where your train of thoughts going here. So I'm gonna hop on board this train. Here's my tweet.
Well, we all remember the Jurassic World live action show that Amblin Television just before the pandemic were about to. It wasn't announced, but it was talked about in some trade thing or something. I can't remember now, but it makes me wonder. That obviously got thrown away. It makes me wonder if the budget that had been set aside, obviously not the assets themselves, but the budget that had been set aside, maybe the teams working on it have been moved across to this this Life on Our Planet show. I don't know.
I mean, like, I think it might. First of all, I'm sad that the Jurassic World live television show got canned. But second of all, yeah, I mean, it might make sense for some Amblin folks and ILM folks to like move from that to this and use that time for this since it got taken away from the Jurassic World live show. So yeah, I'm interested to see like what type of action, what type of stories they're telling with these dinosaurs and creatures. So yeah.
If anything, it'll be a good test to see if Amblin can pull off high quality dinosaurs on a smaller format. And
Hmm.
I think that'll dictate whether or not we'll see anything live action Jurassic. Because when they do that, well, I know they'll eventually do it. There's going to be animatronics, but it's going to be a lot of CGI too. So making the dinosaurs look convincing is probably the most important thing behind obviously good story and characters. But I think this would be a good test to see if Amblin can pull off the smaller but like a smaller budget, like TV budget, high quality, like blockbuster esque dinosaurs. That's what I'm interested in seeing.
Hmm. And
Hmm.
it makes me wonder: have Amblin independently outside of Universal made anything uh, like a live action show for anything else?
I want to say they've been involved in some things, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sure they have, but
I'm just doing a quick search. I'll give you guys a little
Yeah, I'm looking it up
excitement for
too.
me. I just saw what they're working on. I didn't even know this is actually coming out, and it's like legitimately in like post production now. Masters of Air. Steven Spielberg's like trilogy of like those World War II like epics, those TV epics. Amblin makes
Oh,
those,
okay.
man. Those are amazing. So they can
what
do
Amblin
high
made
quality stuff.
the Pacific and Band of Brothers and things like that.
I believe so. I'm looking through all their stuff here.
They were
Yeah.
so good, Band of Brothers especially,
Yeah.
and there was Joe Maslow
The
in the
Pacific.
Pacific, right? He was great in that.
Yeah, yeah,
Eugene
yeah.
Sledge, baby.
Mhm. Those
Um,
shows
I,
were brilliant, and I think even more
Yep.
impactful if you ever
Band of
visited.
Brothers, there it is. Pacific. Yep. So they can oh, you know what else? Freaks and Geeks. So Amblin,
No way,
absolute bangers. Never mind. We didn't do enough research, guys. Amblin is
banger.
known for banger TV,
yeah,
Amblin did
I think they're
Freaks
like
and Geeks. No way.
but canceled it too soon. So maybe they have
Yeah, yeah.
some issues behind the scenes for a way long time issue. So maybe that's why we're not seeing Jurassic. There's some issues up top. Some
I
upper
think for
management got
some
to go
reason they
first.
like don't when they work on these TV shows they don't get like the attention of the other big players involved like cuz I'm looking at their television shows on their website and there's things on here that I had no idea they were involved in
Yeah,
like
exactly. Like you're looking through, I was looking through. I'm like, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this. But for some reason, we don't associate that with Amblin. But when you ask people what an
exactly.
Amblin movie is, oh, they'll like name E.T., Jurassic, Indiana Jones. I don't even is
Yeah.
Jaws one, maybe Jaws two. So like that's like what's the difference? Why is maybe Amblin needs to start putting some more focus into their TV area because clearly they know what they're doing. They have the history, the track record, but
Yeah. I think the issue
something
may
going on
be
there.
in terms of like Jurassic, they have to work with Universal obviously as the
Yeah.
studio that would be
Yeah,
involved.
maybe they're the issue.
The Haunting of Bly Manor is on here
That's a
that
great
Amblin
Netflix.
was apparently involved in, which is like a
Yeah, that's great.
pretty terrifying horror series on Netflix.
Actually,
So
yeah,
we know
that was
we
horror.
know that they can do it. So I really want to know what they were planning
So what's
with this
going on here?
Jurassic World show. What was it going to be about? Where were they going to set it? In what era were they going to set it? Most likely post at least Fallen Kingdom, right? But
Post Fallen Kingdom, open world dinosaurs for sure. You would think, right?
it
Yeah.
That's
makes you
kind of what
think
they
if
wanted to set
Amblin
up.
were, yeah, if Amblin were more the ones developing it, it makes you wonder how they would have gone. Especially if they've just made, Haunting of Bly Manor and if they did
Damn,
Band of
and their
Brothers. We
shows
know
are
they can do
quality too
very
with big
impactful.
budgets.
Yeah.
The Haunting
Damn,
of
now
Hill
I'm even
House is
more
on
upset.
here as well, which was even
Universal
more
just dropped the
terrifying.
ball.
So,
Okay. Speaking of horror, I guess the Death Ground released a gameplay trailer. That's the Kickstarter video game
Mhm.
that's quote unquote not a Jurassic Park game, which clearly is trying to be inspired by. Looks fantastic,
Looks great.
and I liked it off the bat. I know a lot of people are hesitant about, again, quote unquote fan made games. I don't really think it's a fan made game. I think
Not at
it
all.
literally is a fantastic looking uh, game. I don't know what else to say. It looks fantastic, but
I'm
the
glad
gameplay
it's
trailer looks great.
yeah, no, I'm glad it's gotten funded and gotten to this point. Yeah.
For
Yeah,
me,
I'm just
it's
hoping.
it seems like it's a good blend. I play a lot of video games, admittedly. Not enough movie watching, too much video game playing these days. But to me, it seems like a blend of a lot of people's like favorite types of games, like Dead by Daylight, mixed with Alien Isolation, mixed with a little bit of Jurassic. So you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I don't think. that people should look to this as like a Jurassic comparison. I think Jurassic Park and Universal should take notes as to what can be done with the dinosaur game space. Because you take a passionate team like the ones behind Deathground, and they look like they've delivered a pretty interesting and like fairly high budget looking game for a relatively low budget. So I think Jurassic should take notes for what you can do with a small budget and a relatively small development team. So I think Deathground, if assumingly it goes good when it releases, Universal takes notes and not go down the Capcom route of releasing Exo Primal, even though people like it. It's just the wrong route. I don't want to shoot dinosaurs. I want to be like stealthy. I want story. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Mhm.
Universal, look to Deathground and hope Deathground has a strong release.
Well, that's always the story, isn't it? That Universal cancelled a video game, a Jurassic Park video game, because of guns and shooting dinosaurs. And it's like, okay, I get it. If you watch the trailer for Jurassic Park Survival, the cancelled JP3 sort of tie-in video game. It is firing guns at dinosaurs at times, but it's also a kind of like a Tomb Raider-y stealth
Hmm.
puzzle game. It looked like. I'm sure there were more reasons behind the scenes as to why that got cancelled. But then you look at Jurassic World Survivor, yeah, Survivor, um, that got cancelled around the time Fallen Kingdom was coming out. It was cancelled because of guns in the game. That's the quote from one of the devs that worked on it. Guns in the game. So I don't even know at this point. Like, there's
Look,
guns in the movies. I don't know
only
what.
type of games we're ever going to get with Jurassic are park sims. So look forward to Jurassic World Evolution 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And that's about it for. Oh, and your app games,
Pay to
in app
play.
purchase, garbage money games.
Jurassic
That's
World
it.
Alive, yeah.
I,
Yeah, please.
Evolution is. I think people there is a lot of love for that game, and they are great games. But
I still play it.
I couldn't get into Evolution 2 at all. I loved the first one, but I played it more when they released the Return to Jurassic Park DLC. I was just
Yeah.
really into that. Evolution 2, I really tried to play, but I couldn't get
The
into
problem with
it.
these games is if I think a lot of Jurassic Park fans or some of them were looking for more of a Jurassic Park simulator, and what this game is more of is a more of a Jurassic Park, like not even Jurassic Park. It's more of a like a park management game. It's not really a Jurassic Park game. It's like a park management game with the dressing of Jurassic Park. You don't really have time to go look at your dinosaurs because there's like 1,000 things going on. You know, like your fence is broken, storms going on, feeders are out, or whatever. One little thing after another takes away from the dinosaur experience, and that I think that's why the longevity of the game is not quite there. Like for
Yeah,
what Jurassic Park Operation Genesis is, for example, a lot more dinosaur focus on that. You're spending a lot more time looking at the dinosaurs, interacting with them, and less so with the, I guess, behind the scenes management and finance and the less fun stuff that goes along with it. Just my opinion.
Imagine if there was a Jurassic game that spanned the story of the entire franchise up to this point, where you were someone who worked for John Hammond or you worked for InGen or something like that, and you got to be sort of involved with every story that you see in the movies. You were somehow involved with every story that was seen in the movies. Like you were a park worker at Jurassic Park, you were someone who had to evacuate Sorna because of the
Got sued or
storm,
something.
and you were there when InGen was involved there. Like, and I mean, you could do the same sort of thing with the future movies, I guess. Like you were a Jurassic World employee who was involved there during all the chaos that went down there, and you were just surviving involved through it all. I don't know, I'm just word vomiting here, but like that would be I think fans want more of something where like you as a playable character are involved in the stories of the movies or like adjacent stories. I think that would be something that would be cool and outside what we've gotten before. So
But then the issue comes with the story is you can tell a story, but the most important part of a game is the gameplay. And
yeah.
I don't see a game where you're just running and hiding and stealthing dinosaurs. And we saw that with Jurassic World Aftermath, the VR Switch game. And that game, it was like a first person, completely stealth. There was no real weapon options at all, only distraction items. So I find it interesting that even with non-lethal weapons, is Universal against non-lethals, which they even have in their own movies, using against them in Jurassic World. So I'm not sure. You can have an array of like non-lethals, a stun stick, a stun pistol, stun shot grenade, or whatever, right? So there's like a you can be creative within the license, but for some reason we just haven't seen it. So I just don't know what the answer is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
what's
feel
the
like
issue?
it goes back to all the way to the first trilogy. People have wanted to just be able to explore the islands and
Yeah.
being able to explore Sauna and explore the mysteries there, especially the stuff we haven't seen. Um, the same with exploring an abandoned Jurassic Park. I think that's something a lot of people have wanted to play. And if you took the game's approach like The Last of Us, where it is survival and distraction, yeah, you can use a gun if you find bullets, and you can shoot the dinosaur if you need to, but it's better to hide or distract or even just throw a rock over there, so you can escape. I think those approaches would be right. I want to explore Isla Nublar for myself. I want to walk around the island for myself. I want to walk
Yeah.
around Sauna, go into the birdcage, and have to survive through that. Imagine playing the Jurassic Park 3 birdcage sequence and going into the embryonics administration building.
Well,
That'd be
it's
so
like
But then
much fun.
the issue
in
is
the
I'm
no,
just
go ahead.
thinking though out loud. I'm just thinking like Deathground is like the only other dinosaur game I can think of right now where it's not blasting the dinosaurs as a main objective or stealthing around. Like this is pretty much a stealth game, so like you can only go two ways about it, right? You can either have gameplay focusing on shooting with shooting mechanics and stuff like that and looting or whatever, or you can have a game with like with stealth mechanics like Alien Isolation or whatever. But then the issue is finding like you can make a game and just have it become like a walking simulator, but then there's no game, right? You see the
Mhm.
issue? Then it just becomes like a VR ride almost. Sorry to catch you
Sure.
here again.
There does need to be a plot, a synopsis. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Jurassic World Survival was the goal was to survive the island and to escape.
But then the
But
guns, you
to,
need the guns. But the
you
guns
needed
are
the
the
guns,
issue
but
for
you
some
couldn't.
reason.
It was more about getting power back on, finding different survival items, and trying to evade any other potential threats. Not just dinosaurs, there were other
Mhm.
threats going on in the game. So, I mean, that was an approach. I think maybe the issue Universal sees is that the mass people won't like this. That's why the park builder works, because who doesn't want to build a park, right? I
But that
think it's
gets
just
stale.
Sure.
You can only recycle that so many times. Like, how many
exactly.
innovations can you really add to a park sim? You know what I mean? You're only iterating a small step each time. The
Yeah.
step from JWE1 to the second one wasn't wasn't like a revolution in gameplay. It was the same gameplay with just tweaks to that gameplay. So it was to get the same game refined each time, and that's gonna wear thin after like the third, fourth time. Like Jurassic World
Yeah.
Evolution 3? Do you really want another park simulator? What are they gonna add? Build dinosaurs in space? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I know
Has
like it has to change. Something has to change each time. And like I'm just thinking if Universal is just or I'm sure teams have tried this, but like just have if you want to have like a non dinosaur shooting mechanic, just have like poachers on the island. Have humans to fight the poachers. Like you fight them, but the dinosaur like the weapons are ineffective against I don't know the dinosaurs. Like the raptors move too fast. The other ones have too much hide or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Well, it should
yeah.
be like
be creative.
Trespasser, where you stumble upon weapons, but it's like, two bullets. You got to really save those
Exactly.
bullets. You don't want to.
There's not going
You
to be
don't
a
want to use
thousand
them.
bullets on Jurassic Park. There's going to be like maybe like 2 boxes of like rifle ammo and like
Yeah.
some like shotgun ammo. You know what I mean? You're not
Yeah.
I
going to
mean, it
have
just
like
off the top of
Call of
my head,
Duty.
the idea
Like,
if you
why are
have
they
to
not
go
doing
big,
this?
I know the
God
idea
damn it.
of like an open world survivor on Nublar would be okay. Well, you're a team that's going in. You need to find embryos or something, right? The timeline would be it's 95 or something, 94. There's I don't know. You need to find
And
something, or maybe you are Dodgson, or maybe you are um, Biosyn, and you need to find the canister. And it's just after the park's disaster. And
yeah.
that would be the aim of the game. But you can't just go to the canister first off. You have to explore the entire island because you don't know where the hell it is. You need to retrace the steps. You got to end up in the control room. You got to evade the raptors, the T-Rex in the visitor center. You got to make your way through the gates, and you got to kind of not recreate, but retread some of the steps from Jurassic Park that is so iconic. And I think just playing that would be amazing. Discovering all these new secrets along the way. Maybe you got to try and get a vehicle going, find some gas for it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Another issue I'm seeing with all this talk is I know it sounds like it's complaining, but it's more of like it's kind of what we want, and we're showing that it's like what can be done. Like it's not impossible to make a creative game, but maybe Universal has some hesitation in like putting out something that looks like an Alien Isolation skin with Jurassic Park, remember when Dino Crisis came out? I'm sure some of you guys remember, but I remember like people just saying it's just Resident Evil with dinosaur skins on it, right? It's just a clone, right? Is
Mhm.
Jurassic Park just gonna be a clone of every other game? Do you see what I mean? Like a movie
Sure.
clone. It's gonna have that disgusting stink of having like a movie license game almost. You know what I mean? So it's a
I get
very
that, but then
hard
Alien
uphill battle
Isolation was able to do it perfectly,
Well,
you know?
have
after a
either of you
lot of error
guys
though.
Yes.
played the Lego games at all?
Yes, I love them.
Played Lego
Okay.
Jurassic World, dive straight into the Jurassic Park 3 level.
Hell yeah!
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Is like it would be so cool if that was like an adult level role playing game where you could play the stories of the movies and perhaps change the story a little bit if you had to, but then maybe not, or like discover new little side secrets about things and just go
Mhm.
through the stories of the movies. Like that's the Lego game is the only version of that for Jurassic that there is, basically almost. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so we've got limited run games dropping what do you call them?
Remasters.
Yeah.
Remasters. They are kind of remakes because they've rebuilt it from the ground up, they
Oh,
said.
did they?
Apparently, yeah, yeah.
No, I would say remake. Then yeah, I would say remake. Sure.
So it's limited run. What's it called? The Retro
Yeah, limited
Classic
run games.
Collection or something, right? And
Yes.
it's the not Sega Jurassic Park original games. And what are they called? Jurassic Park and then Jurassic Park 2 Chaos Continues. Is that one of them?
Yes, that's one of them. I should have more. Should have. Who has this up in front of them? All I know is that like I was browsing their website yesterday, picking out which one I wanted to pre-order, which set, and they had like. I want to give a first of all a big shout out to Limited Run Games. They make banger products. I have a couple other games for my Switch already. Um, I want to give them a shout out for having so many variety of products and options to pre-order from. I was like scrolling for like a good like couple minutes trying to figure out like which bundle do I want, and I saw the one
How much
has that
money
dad
can I
shout out to
spend?
that dad hat though. That dad hat is fantastic.
Dude, that's like I'd rather get the dad hat than the game right now at this point.
Yeah, they blew me away with the dad hat. So I ordered the dad hat and yeah, I can't wait for the games to come out, obviously. And I've never played them, so it'll be nice to rip these on my Switch and just I guess get into some classic Jurassic.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
know what that makes me excited for? Maybe Jurassic Park's maybe making a comeback in less Jurassic World, maybe. You know what I mean? There's a lot more Jurassic Park stuff coming out. I know it's the 30th anniversary, but it's building the brand back up, the Jurassic Park brand, and it made
yes.
a lot of money in the box office last week, like a million plus.
Yeah.
Not bad for like a 3D re-release. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah, is that gonna so obviously Jurassic Park's now making even more money at the box office, which is hilarious. But it's funny because Dominion didn't come out that long ago, Jurassic World Dominion. And I
yeah,
like you just said, it is the 30th anniversary, but it's funny how quickly we've pivoted back to Jurassic Park and everything is Jurassic Park. And I think that's gonna continue through next year and hopefully a long time.
Yeah, so the limited run thing, just to say it, is the Jurassic Park Classic Games collection, and there's the standard edition, which is just like the normal game cases that you can get, and then there's the classic edition, which looks like a Jurassic Park VHS, which is awesome, and then there's also the prehistoric edition, which sort of has the 64-bit T-Rex on the front, and it looks retro like those games that they've remastered. So, and like you were saying, the merch that they've got with them
it's
is
fantastic.
phenomenal. It's
I want to
so
give a
cool.
shout out to everyone. I want to take this chance now. This run we're getting of like this Jurassic Park merch from all these places. I
Mhm.
picked up like so many things already. Like I'm loving this resurgence. Keep giving it to me. You want to know why I think it's happening too? Because if you look at the aesthetic of Jurassic Park, it pops today. It looks so different than it's like vintage almost. It's like retro. It stands
Mhm.
out when you put it in the shop compared to like all those corporate ass shit. So it's like it's
Yeah.
different now,
You
and
know,
I
as well,
like
this
that.
isn't a critique of the Jurassic World movies, which I'm known to do.
No, no, not
Just
critiquing the Jurassic World.
the branding of the
The
World
branding is
movie
fantastic.
does not look great up on there. When you see
It's
all the
too generic.
Ghostbusters logos and the Indiana Jones logos, you see the Jurassic World logo, which is kind of gray and blue and silver and not very appealing. You see the Jurassic Park logo, and it's bright and it's colorful and it,
It's
like you said, it
vibrant. It
has that
stands out.
retro feel. And the dad hat from Retro Games, the colors, as you mentioned before, they're perfect. It's
Have
like
you guys seen the
yeah.
Jurassic Park 30th anniversary calendar that
No, I
just
haven't.
popped up?
Another
It's
thing to throw my money at. I love this.
exactly, that's exactly right. Because like I have to have it, and it's like it's got that like poppin' Jurassic Park red and green and yellow like branding. It's so cool. It looks
Whoever's in
awesome.
charge of their I guess key art right now for this is I think they're doing a pretty bang up job. Like the splash of colors, it's like it's not Jurassic Park as it was. It's like Jurassic Park with like a modern spin on it in a way, and I'm vibing with it so hard. I love it.
Have you seen? Obviously, we've seen the really awful cover of the screenplay book that's coming out for Jurassic
Alex is
Park. But did you see Alex's incredible? Oh, that does look cool.
see,
That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
exactly
yeah,
what I'm talking about,
that's the
Caleb.
cover of the
yeah.
It's the
calendar.
colors, it's the color palette, it's the colorways, like the patterns,
They're
but
mixing in
done in a different
the
way.
Jungle Explorer, the Tour Explorer vehicles, kind of
Yeah,
red.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's perfect. Yeah, Alex's version of the cover for check him out on Twitter, Part Time Hero. Seriously, what the hell? How did they not achieve that? He just like
His
He just
cover's
did it.
like
fantastic.
oh,
It
had a
looks
bit of
great.
time on the weekend. Thought
Beautiful.
I'd mock this up. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. What a smart and seemingly simple idea to just how the screenplays have the Jurassic Park logo, but it's black and white. Just cutting
So
down
good, dude. I loved it.
perfect. Oh my
Perfect attention to
god.
detail.
Yeah, they I bet whoever designed that original cover. I know that they were using just assets from Universal, but I hope they're kicking themselves a little because somebody just mocked that up and everyone was like, "I'm gonna print that." I think you said it, Assis. You're gonna print that and put it on
I'm
your
gonna
own.
replace it, dude. I'm gonna ask Alex. I'll give you like the high res of that. I'm gonna blow this up and print it professionally, dude.
Tape it to the outside.
And
Yeah,
no
yeah.
offense to the artist. I know the artist probably was like. I have a question actually. Since you guys are in a similar sense working with Universal in assets and stuff, are you guys constrained to? I don't know if you guys can talk about this. Are you constrained to using only the asset Universal gave you? Like, can you branch off and do what you want, kind of thing?
Well, so with say for example, Beyond the Gates, we were given a certain number of assets to like not given, just like here's the asset library you can use. This is what partners are given. But we Chris and I always take a tangent from that and design our own stuff. That has to go through approvals. So in the
Okay.
latest Beyond the Gates, we used our own pre-built assets for the what do you call it, the like the Unix UI system for when the guy comes up on screen, the interview comes up on screen, and you see it's in like the Nedry console window and stuff. All those assets we kind of made ourselves. We didn't use the
Okay.
ones that they had provided because they weren't quite fitting what we needed. So we just kind of built around what they had, and it has to go through layers of approval. But they do have a number of things, and we noticed that the cover from that book, the screenplay book, is just an asset from the library. So they didn't really change much. They just kind of used the asset as was.
That's
Which
so depressing, dude. Like, so I have
yeah,
then the issue is why do we have things that are coming out that are absolutely like the effort is there, the love is there, like the stuff from limited run games or something like the clothing brands like Shoe Palace. The
even
yeah,
so
the
the
soundtrack.
who is it? The what are
La
they
La
called?
Land
La La
Records.
Land. La La Land Records, the Lost World score. Mine came the other day. People have already acknowledged this, but it's so simple. I got the JP one as well.
That's a
So
yeah.
simple the design,
Mhm.
but they've managed to harness that feeling that
So
you
then
get.
what is where's the disconnect happening? Why are we getting some things that are so lovingly made and some things that seem like literally the laziest drag drop print go? And why are they getting approved? Like why is someone approving this nice quality stuff and then looking at the other less favorable stuff and being like, "You know what? Good to go as well."
It
What's
seems
going
to
on?
be. I agree. There seems to be a
Yeah.
disconnect on Universal's end for approvals. That if it's in the library, if it's been used, then
Then
it's
I guess you're
approved.
good to go
Kind of
because you
thing.
approved it already. Then
Let's
that's laziness.
let's take
Whereas
that
like limited run,
that Rex that's on the front of the script book. Let's please take that out. Let's
Yeah,
throw
can
that
you like
away.
hack the system and just delete that asset
I don't know
forever?
how that's even in there. Who thought that looked like the Jurassic Park T Rex? It's so
This is a
bad.
billion-dollar franchise. $1 billion. This is your biggest franchise, Universal. This is your number one, and this is the effort that you put in. No wonder it's like your Fast and Furiouses are like flopping.
Yeah.
Jurassic is gonna go the same route if you don't put the love and effort into it. It's just
I
that
think
simple,
that
man.
the reaction the general public have had to the original Jurassic Park, both coming back in cinemas and just being around again, as you said, for the 30th anniversary, I think has shown how iconic that original movie is, but how much love it still has, despite the way the Jurassic World movies have gone. Audiences have changed, but
Jurassic Park will
every
ever last.
yeah,
The
it
name will
really
ever last.
will.
It's a classic. It's a staple of like our culture almost. You know, like of cinema culture. It's just such a
It
big
is.
name.
But I think to
Absolutely.
your point about the sort of like the graphics and the design of everything, Limited Run obviously have their own designers who are working with certain assets and then making new things to be like, look, let's make it look like this. Let's put this asset here. Let's use this here. And I think that that's what it comes down to: individual companies or partners designing things that, yeah, sure, are using assets from the library or are using things that pre-approved, but making new things and designing it and then getting that approved because it works better. And I think we see that in a number of partners, as you said, that calendar. Um, it is
Mhm.
using assets that are available, but it's putting them together in a way that actually visually is stunning, as opposed to that T
Mhm.
Rex, which
It
is
adds
just
some spin to it. It
wild.
adds like a human touch to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's like almost a difference. There's like a human touch to it versus like this artificial corporate crap. I think that's the
hmm
difference. Like you can tell
this
Alex's has like a touch. Neem's stuff has a touch. Like his work has like a
yes.
style. There's a personality behind the work, and then you get this other like just drag drop copy paste. It's just like where's the love, man? This is like an if the issue is the artists, get artists, and there's tons of artists who love this franchise and are super passionate about it in the community. Get them to do it. They'll do it.
Mhm.
They'll
yeah.
do a great job that will people will love. I
I
just
Yeah,
don't
think
understand what's going on.
I think like, and this is a longer conversation and has been said
I'm getting heated.
before, but I think that something that would greatly improve things is like if Universal had more reign on the dinosaur asset side of things, because if you replace that T-Rex on the front of that script book with an accurate Jurassic T-Rex, that improves it by like
Mhm.
70, that improves it a ton. And
Mhm.
so like I think they need,
Yeah.
when before I had seen that cover and someone said to me like, "Oh, have you seen this? I don't like it. It's bad." And I was like, literally my first response was, "Is it a dinosaur asset issue?" And they said,
Yeah.
"Yes." And so like I think I really like, there are obviously like other personal touch and approval issues, but like I think if we can get the dinosaur branding right, like it improves it so much.
You know
But
what's
yeah.
interesting, Caleb? As you're talking about that, you know what that reminded me of? I got like horrible PTSD flashbacks of. Do you guys remember? s- Picture yourself in 2013. The 3D
Oh,
Yeah.
re-release of Jurassic Park is
I
coming
know what
out.
you're gonna say.
I
Remember
do
that
too. I
poster
do
they put
too.
out? And I think it was Julian from I can't remember what he's working on these days, but Julian, he's everyone knows Julian.
Julian
Yeah.
Romero.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, thank you. He put out like what Caleb is saying. We replaced the asset with the JP Rex from his like, Origins asset list or
Yeah.
something, and it looks night
Yeah,
and
so
day
It's so
better.
much
that was
better.
the poster, wasn't it? And it was
It was
it was
The
the
a
actual
cool
Rex
like
in the
idea. It
rearview
was
poster.
mirror.
in the rearview mirror as the poster
It
and
was
the
the shady one
T-Rex.
too, which like it moved in and out of like the mirror. I'm like, so you're putting effort into this poster, but these are the assets in which you're using. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't understand. So it
But they've
started in
always
2013.
it's always been that way. And remember the Blu-ray covers that came out
Oh my god, you're right.
Oh.
I forgot about those ones.
even the logos were off on them. I don't know what the hell. That's the thing. It's an internal issue on approvals.
The the pointy triangle beaked Stegosaurus haunts
Oh,
my
geez, in the
nightmares.
Lost World cover, yeah. This sounds like this is turning to a Jurassic Park love-hate episode. This is interesting. It's like,
Well,
here's what we love, but also what we hate.
let's
Yes.
Jack, you held up and brought up the La La Land release. Like let's talk about that for a second, because it's
Yeah.
fantastic. They have knocked those out of the Jurassic Park. They did the they did a full, so La La Land did a full like remastered, expanded re-release of Jurassic Park and the Lost World soundtracks in 2016, and it
Mhm.
was pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
And just in the last couple of years, I think the Jurassic Park by itself re-release was last year, and then the Lost World was this year. They've done them individually. The covers are awesome. They're minimalistic. They look like sort of almost an
They look a bit
expansion
like
of
the novel covers.
exactly, yes. They look like they resemble the novel covers to like my first impression was that they like it looks like they took the the classic T-Rex logos for those individual movies and sort of broke them out of the constraints. Like the Jurassic Park one has sort of the jungle along the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. And then like the Lost World sort of has like San Diego along the bottom, which is
Yeah,
Good
perfect.
touch.
yeah,
And
it nails it. And the first one's white, a white
yeah,
cover. Lost World's red.
yeah.
The logos. The only thing is the text, right? The text. Actually, you know what? No, the text is fine.
Oh, we're going back to the font debate. Oh,
No,
baby,
the font's
is the
right.
font
The
right?
font's
The
right.
font's
The
I
good
was
as
font's
like,
hell.
right, ladies and gentlemen. The font is right.
And
I was just
the
looking at it like, oh, I think they've taken the sort of metal logos, but they haven't. It's just textured in a cool way.
right. No, and so these individual re-releases have had even more like not like a ton of expansive new material, but still they've been able to find and get permission and be able to release even more new material on these like the big one for me on the Jurassic Park re-release was the film mix and the film edit of Journey to the Island, which is awesome to have. And on the Lost World there's a completely new version of Rescuing Sarah on there that I had never even heard before.
I
So
love this
I just
stuff.
want to
They're
point
bringing
out,
this
just
stuff in.
as a side thing, track 4 is called To the Island. I've always
Uh-huh.
known that track as Malcolm's Journey.
Exactly.
Malcolm's
Yeah,
Journey,
yeah,
baby.
But then apparently Derek corrected me and said, well, actually, mate, it was always called To the Island. And
yeah.
then when it was released, it was changed somewhere along the way to Malcolm's Journey.
Well, we
Right?
have to yes, we have to make these track titles that get released to the public. We have to make them dramatic and about the story, which is fine. Was fine. But like I'm sure I don't know. Being a composer myself and like naming tracks, it's like sometimes you make them as simple as possible, sometimes you make them about the story. And so like John Williams was probably like they're just going to the island, to the island.
But it's
Or you could go
Malcolm's
Michael
Journey.
Giacchino's way. Just
Yeah,
saying,
no,
yeah.
I agree. I love the title Malcolm's Journey
Yeah.
because The Lost World is about Malcolm. That you could retitle the entire film Jurassic Park Malcolm's Journey.
Malcolm.
Malcolm's Journey.
Kind of.
But
I will say
no,
though, Jurassic Park: The Lost World, for all that I give,
Jurassic
it's
Park 2.
Jurassic Park 2, the second, the best one allegedly, has the best soundtrack of the entire franchise, hands
Yes.
down.
we can
Yeah.
drive with that.
It's
Absolutely.
so underrated. I think when people look at John Williams' score, all his like scores that he's done in his catalog, I think The Lost World is one of the most slept on because no one talks
Absolutely.
about it. They just associate it with the movie, but Williams, what he does there with the percussions and like the woodwinds are different than how he usually uses them as a tribal sound into it. Like all that stuff,
Yeah.
it elevates it. It makes it so different and like unique to what Jurassic Park is, and I love that.
Absolutely. Well, so it's The Lost World is like this completely different animal. If you listen to it right after Jurassic Park, it's just like it's still orchestral, but it's less orchestral, and there's more
Mhm.
percussion
Mhm.
and more of that tribal feeling that you're talking, jungle feeling that you're talking about. Assis. So, fun fact: this is something I like to tell people, and I don't know if you'll know this or not, but fun fact: when the Jurassic Park score was being recorded, John Williams had hurt his back and couldn't conduct the sessions, or at least a good portion of the recording sessions, and so when The Lost World came around and he had done the music, it was like finally I get to conduct my own Jurassic score. So like that was the first Jurassic score that he conducted the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
So
I did not know that.
and
Yeah, I didn't know.
so yeah, I always think that's really interesting just when it comes to the conversation about how different it is and how fiery and like upbeat and intense it is. It's
He
like
went in all guns blazing.
well, it's
Yeah,
like
it comes from the
John Williams
conductor.
got to conduct the whole thing.
Yeah, he
So
has
Wow.
a lot of energy. I've seen a lot of his earlier performances back around the time of I guess 80s and stuff, and the way
Mhm.
he's conducting up there, he's a magician with the
absolutely.
absolute with his hand movements. He's like,
Yeah.
I
no wonder
have
he threw his back out. I almost threw my back out mimicking the move.
No, I have pictures somewhere of him conducting and it's on some of the behind the scenes stuff on the discs too of him conducting those sessions. But um yeah,
The goat.
massive shout out to La La Land for giving us all of this
Yeah.
Jurassic music and unreleased and expanded Jurassic music.
And
They're
I know that
fantastic.
there were a number of people in the community that really did help, facilitate all of this and helped La La
Including
Land.
Double
Double,
D.
double
That
Derek
guy
Davis.
puts in so much legwork, and shout out to him. He just puts a lot of his time, effort, and soul into the franchise, and
He
He's
really
big
still the
time.
does.
best. He's still the
He's
best.
still he's still
He's
best at
the
what he
best.
does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But there is a lot of people, including Double Davis Jr., who have worked on these and helped La La Land, and I just think so much credit to that because it's such a fascinating thing to have this so many years later after the film, and it's all this unheard, well, not unheard of, but re-released music, and on the
Yeah.
back there's all this additional music, and then there's little citation, previously unreleased, and then contains previously unreleased material, and they've completely, would you call it, remastered a lot of the tracks. They took basically the original stems and then
Yeah, I mean that can go a lot of ways. And it's funny, like, and this is a long conversation, but like the original album release of The Lost World has always been an album to me that felt like it was mixed really low, like it could have been louder, like the album that's on iTunes. And so like these new releases are the La La Land from 2016 and like these new releases are much louder. And so like that's just a great thing to have. But like, yeah, I mean, it could be that they're taking all of the stems. It could be that they're taking some of the old mixes and just making them better. But
whatever
yeah,
they've done is fantastic, and it
absolutely, absolutely.
totally rumbles my car. I remember when the original came out, the original release, the 2-pack. That was 2017. You said 2018,
16, yeah.
2016. I remember playing that. I had an older beat up Jeep back then. I'd replaced the speakers in the door frame, and I remember like hearing them almost pop out of. It was like so loud, and it was too loud for the speakers.
Yes.
But the bass on them, it was just perfect to be able to hear it like that.
I'm gonna go
So
in my
yeah,
truck after this and blast it and blow up
do
my
it.
eardrums, I guess.
Yeah. Turn it all up. Okay, so I want to mention something. The Lego show.
Yeah.
This has had mixed reaction. I mean, what kind of reaction can more Lego content really get? This is obviously aimed at kids, which is fine. But what did you say? So, I mean, how do you want to introduce this? What's it called?
Do we
It's
know what it's
called
called yet?
I mean, I guess the full
Peacock special?
title is Lego Jurassic Park and Adventure 65 Million Bricks in the Making.
Get it?
And this is on Peacock, right? Just on Peacock?
Yeah,
Yes,
but
that's the point.
it's
That's the point.
also like there's also another tagline which is like the unofficial retelling or something like
Yeah,
that.
what the hell does that mean? Isn't this
Well,
So
official?
no,
I
wait, let's
haven't seen
stop.
it yet. But let me tell
Jack's
you what I
reaction was
think that's
perfect.
gonna be.
What the hell?
I think that they're gonna bring in Malcolm, like old Malcolm from Dominion or
100%.
something with gray hair, and it's gonna be Malcolm retelling the Jurassic Park story 30 years later. That's the like the impression I got from that, but I
Kind
have
of
no
like that
idea.
Deadpool thing, that Deadpool did like Christmas special movie.
Yeah,
Kind of him retelling
I mean, sort
the
of,
first one.
yeah,
Yeah, kind of like that, but for
yeah.
kids. Which is like, okay, first of all, my initial reaction seeing this was like, okay, just saw the Jurassic Park. I didn't see the Lego aspect yet. Saw the Jurassic Park on Twitter. I was like, okay, shit, finally, they're doing a Peacock thing on Jurassic Park. It's happening. Finally, finally, finally. And I look down a little bit more focus. I see the Lego. I'm like, okay, here's the problem. Why are they targeting this? Listen, I get it. Jurassic Park is a kids movie, but it's a movie for everyone. Why are they
Mm,
continually just narrowing and focusing in on the kids market? Is the
yes.
Lego brand so powerful still that these shows are doing so good for them that they're like, you know what, they're doing really well. These Lego shows. Let's do more of these Lego shows.
I do just want to
Why?
make a point that
Who's watching this?
it's fascinating that Peacock, NBC Universal's new streaming platform, is the first piece of Jurassic content is a Lego show. I think that it says a lot about what they're willing to produce and what they want to make for Jurassic. And I get it. Again, I do get it. Lego sells, Jurassic kids stuff sells. that is a huge audience, and obviously the goal is to sell as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like, I think that's the whole thing. It's not, if they want to do all this kid stuff, fine. Absolutely. They should. But where's the stuff geared towards adults? Where's the stuff that's actually geared towards us, the ones
You know
that
what's
grew up
funny?
with the original
Yes.
trilogy?
You know, you're supposed to age with you're supposed to age with the audience, right? Like, as
Yeah.
the kids who grew up watching, like us, we grew up watching Jurassic Park. We have aged, and for some reason, they've just like abandoned the demographic that grew up with the movie almost, and just started focusing on the age that we were. I'm like, but then they're just gonna age out too. But then just why not just have the kids stuff so you can target the kids and then have everything so you can grow with the content. Kind of like, I know we'll talk about this later on, but like Caleb will talk about Star Wars, like the Rebel stuff. It grows with its audience. But we'll talk about that later.
So my question, so the poster is like built out of Lego bricks and everything, and it has like a pile of bricks under the logo, and like they're playing to the Malcolm one-liner of like that's one big pile of bricks, which is that like
That's pretty good though.
I
That's pretty
appreciate
good.
that. So, but that's why I get the impression of the Malcolm thing, because it's like old Dominion Malcolm on the poster, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It looks like it.
And so
In pajamas or something.
my real question here is like, is if that is what the structure of this special is like Malcolm retelling the Jurassic Park story 30 years later, did they get Jeff Goldblum to do this little
You
Lego
would have to
animated special?
imagine they did. But then if they did, they would hype it up as in like Jeff Goldblum in the special,
Well,
no?
and it's like, that's so of all the things to bring back Jeff Goldblum for, like, we got him for a Lego special. It's
To be
interesting.
fair, Jeff Goldblum does seem to do anything Jurassic. He did the
And
Evolution games.
I love Jeff Goldblum, and that's great, but it's just like so interesting that that's the
He's turned
angle we're
into like the
taking.
Anthony Daniels of the franchise, as in he'll be the guy you'll see in like 5 years in like the Jurassic Park gum commercial, and it's him playing him, or the next like Jurassic Park TV show where it's like a bunch of like different actors playing all the characters that we've like known, like Grant Elliott and stuff. But the truth will be Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm. He'll be that guy.
Imagine if
He
we
was in the Jeep
brought Ellie
commercial,
Sattler back for a retelling of Jurassic Park, a new perspective on it 30 years later. Imagine how different and interesting that would be.
especially after
But
Dominion being her movie, like
yeah.
kind of thing as what it was
Well,
supposed to be. But
what do you
mm.
think and how is it possible that it's an unofficial retelling?
I think
Does it mean it's that in the terms of what they're going to do in the story? Because it
I
reads like it's an unofficial Jurassic product.
yeah, it does read
Some
that
fan
way,
made
but I
product that
think
we're putting up here.
I don't know, and I could be totally wrong about the Malcolm leading this thing. I could be totally wrong about that. But
I think
like
you're right about that though.
but that's just really the impression I'm getting. But like, I think they're saying the unofficial retelling because it's just Malcolm rambling and making
It's
shit up.
Malcolm's like
And
bastardized, like hyped up. It's gonna be him running away
exactly.
from the T Rex, but it's gonna be him like saving everyone during the road attack. You know what I mean? It's gonna be him saving the kids and Grant on his back and the lawyer probably. It's gonna be
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
gonna be hero Malcolm.
yeah. Which is, like I said, it's just really interesting that that's the angle that we're taking
Yeah,
for that. But yeah. Do we
it's
want to
different. I'll give it that. You know what? If
yeah.
you're doing something, at least it's different. It's a different thing, and I'm probably not gonna end up watching it. So, I mean,
Do we
no, I don't know.
want to talk about the Star Wars thing? Do we want to
Do
move
it.
to that?
Do
Okay.
it.
Let's go.
So, this was a rant that came into my mind the other day when we were talking about all of this kind of thing, and sort of the first thing that came into my mind was, okay, Universal has this new, quote unquote new, it's been around for a couple of years now, but like they have this brand new streaming service, Peacock, that is theirs. It is their own. It is their most recognizable brand image. It is Universal's thing. And like, first of all, why are all of the Jurassic movies not exclusively streaming on there? First of all, like,
Are they
why are
still on
they?
Netflix? Are they on
I
Netflix
don't.
right
They're all over the
Netflix, Amazon
place.
Prime, everywhere.
They're all over the place. They've been on HBO Max at one point too.
They still are. Dominions on HBO.
Exactly. And like, if Universal's making money off of that, off of licensing it to other people, whatever. But like,
Absolutely.
it's like so okay, how to start this what I'm about to say. So a a larger point to this whole Jurassic franchise conversation came into my mind. Um which has to do with how the Jurassic brand is being managed at the moment. And this was brought up with the Lego thing and with some other stuff. Um and I guess I'll start off with just in general to me, someone who someone who loves Jurassic Park, someone who I would even say I love the Jurassic World movies. I love them both. But right now,
Sees
the,
his face.
if if only the listeners could see the faces of Jack and Assis. But but as someone who is in that position, who feels that way,
It's out of love.
the the franchise is just feels like the way it's being managed right now is uncoordinated
Mhm.
and unmotivated,
Yes.
and random. Like, it's just the most random stuff popping up. And so before I get into the main point of this, with the Peacock thing, I was kind of like, one, why are all of the Jurassic movies not exclusively streaming there? They're
Mm.
It's Universal's franchise. And yeah, and I understand like licensing and the issues there. I do understand that. But the larger point of what I'm getting at here, and I want to clarify that this is in no way a comparison of these two franchises as far as like story or characters or genres. Like, it's not that. But my with my feelings towards how the franchise is being managed and the content that we're getting right now, my mind went to, why not look at Star Wars and how Star Wars is being managed right now as far as an example for Jurassic and how it could be managed. And the first point I'll make there is Disney Plus. It
Mm.
literally everything Star Wars is in one place on Disney Plus, and it's organized and it's presented well, and Disney Plus even lays out and organizes the entire timeline of Star Wars for you and how to watch all of their content in order. And Star Wars is a franchise that spans almost 50 years now, and the story of the franchise expands well beyond that amount of time. And I thought to myself, Jurassic is a franchise that spans 30 plus years of time now, and the story of the things involved in the Jurassic franchise can go outside of that amount of time. And when you look at Star Wars, they have these core trilogies of movies, but they also have animated shows and they also have live action shows that fill in the gaps of their timeline. And they have specific established guides to what their timeline is and what what the terms are that are used in the stories to describe the time and what happened in these time periods and the timeline, and they're filling in the gaps of their movies. And I really think that that is possible for Jurassic. I think that we have these two core trilogies of story, and we have, I mean, just in between the two trilogies there are 15 years of time, but then in between the movies of the trilogies, there's even more time. And so I think that there's so much. When you look at Star Wars, they use animated shows and very, very high quality live action shows to fill in the gaps in between their core timeline. And I think that that's something that Jurassic can look to as an example of what they need to do, because, and you know, do it well in the way that Star Wars has, because their Star Wars has done it well. And I'm not saying anything's perfect, but I'm saying that like Star Wars has used its animated shows in an extremely vital way to their timeline, and they're done well, and they fit in well, and they pay attention to like where they lie in the story, and then but then they use the live action shows to do the same thing. And I think, Jurassic has sort of started and attempted to do that with Camp Cretaceous. Because I really, and Camp Cretaceous is what it is, but like I really feel like they were sort of taking inspiration from Star Wars Rebels or Star Wars Clone Wars, which are animated shows that fill in the timeline of Star Wars. And they said, oh, let's sort of, you know, making Camp Cretaceous, it could also have that role as far as like filling in things that we don't see in the movies. And so, yeah, that I'm rambling here, but like what I'm saying is Star Wars is a franchise that has core trilogies and gaps in its timeline and established guides and like guidelines for its entire story and its timeline. And I really think that that is something that could get Jurassic back on track, is establishing your timeline, establishing guides and guidelines, and using your content to fill in those gaps, whether it's before Jurassic Park, whether it's after Jurassic Park 3, whether it's after Jurassic World Dominion, or it's in between any of those movies. There's just so much potential there. And I think so. The last thing I was ranting about when I was telling Jack this the other day is that so we get the announcement of this Lego show, and it's kids content, and or it's it's content that is targeted at kids that everyone can probably enjoy, but it's targeted at kids. And I think that's just a lot of what we've gotten lately, is stuff that's targeted at kids. And
Yeah. And we've also, to point out, we've had a lot of Lego Jurassic stuff already. There's how
also,
many movies? There's 3 or 4 Lego Jurassic World movies. There's a whole video game. I feel
yeah,
like, yeah, fine. I just don't want any more Lego stuff.
and
I don't
exactly.
get much from it. And it's
And
not
so I
just for
think
me, of course, but
no, and so I'm someone who, you know, is appreciative of any new Jurassic content, whatever it is. But like at the same time, I feel like, going back to what I was saying about how the franchise is being managed, I feel like we are, and when I say we, I guess I mean the folks who are managing the franchise right now. Like we are missing out on such a massive part of our audience, our Jurassic audience, by not doing things that are a little bit more even teen focused or adult focused, or terror and horror elements involved in them. I feel like, it feels like to me at the moment we're doing so much more of one side, which is the kids targeted stuff, when we need to be doing at the very least both sides, and the other side is the adult horror elements side, and
yes.
the more intense, thrilling, in your face Jurassic violence stuff. Because yes, we need to involve the kids and the kid audience, but like the adult audience has also gotten you to this point of franchise popularity, and there is just not much for them at the moment. And so my point here is that in the way that Star Wars has presented the story of its franchise and filled in its timeline
Yep.
and done that in both kid targeted and adult targeted ways with animated shows and live action shows. Jurassic can do that.
Mhm.
Jurassic absolutely can do that.
And
So,
should be doing that. I'm
yes.
just going to point out, I'm so glad it's not just me saying it, because it's always just me saying Jurassic needs to go more horror. And I totally get it, right? It can't just go horror, but the
Yeah.
pendulum has swung so far one way that it needs to come back the other way at this point. And I know some people will say, well, the movies are for everyone. I don't think the world movies have the same suspenseful, fear-inducing feeling as at least the first two. So for me, the movies are more, they feel more like Marvel movies than they do the original Jurassic Park movies. I feel like whether, like, and a lot of people have made this point, maybe it's a TV series that needs to harken back to that feeling. Maybe
Mhm.
they are worried about the movies, not being for everybody. So yeah, fill in the gaps. Why aren't Peacock, like you said, doing what Disney Plus have done? Why isn't that? It's like even Camp Cretaceous started seeming like, okay, this feels like it's for everyone, even though it's a cartoon, even though it's a kids show. It did have a lot of elements that were feeling right, and then season 4 and 5 came along.
Well, and it just, I mean, in my opinion, there just needs to be so much more of a balance, like
Yeah.
between, I mean, whether it's in the content itself or like in the volume of content that is being released. Like it just, we're out of balance as far as the kid targeted stuff versus the more adult horror stuff. And I mean, like I said, this is in no way a comparison of like the genre or the story or the characters of the Jurassic franchise versus the Star Wars franchise. But Star Wars does things in its live action TV shows that are way more like violent and intense than some
Hmm.
of the movie stuff. And it's like, okay, a TV show could be a place where we could start to introduce that kind of thing. But yeah.
So I wanted, first of all, Caleb, that was fantastic. I think
Thank you. It
Round
was
of
me
applause.
rambling.
yeah, you no, that was less of a rant and more of just like you seeing like legitimate points that are like fair and like should be addressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I want to start off with like the streaming thing. Like I agree that there's no reason why like Peacock doesn't have everything Jurassic in one spot, like you're saying, like Disney does. But at the same time, what we're seeing with the streaming stuff now is that doing that model of having one thing, having everything in one central place, is not making companies money anymore. So they're like
Right.
even Disney now is starting to like license out stuff. So you have to do both. That's what I'm trying to say. You got to
Yeah.
have it central to Peacock. So that way, if I'm like thinking I want to watch Jurassic and like I'm at home or something in like Ottawa, I'll be like, okay, I know where I go. I go to Peacock. That has everything
Yeah.
Jurassic. And then if I'm like on Netflix and I happen to see Jurassic Park or Jurassic Park 3, it's just a bonus. And you're making money
Yeah.
both ways. And Lego content. Jurassic, for some reason, is only focusing on Lego content these days. Not only, but like I would say a large majority of their output has been Lego oriented. And I want to say that Disney also does Lego stuff. They have a large Lego lineup for their Star Wars products, obviously, but I meant their like TV shows. If you go on Disney Plus and you search down to the very, very bottom, like the super kiddie Star Wars stuff is there. And they
Hmm.
target all audiences. So like Jurassic
Hmm.
Park's a 4 quadrant movie, right? You got to hit the young kids, the old kids, and like the you know what I mean, like all quadrants, all like
Young adults and
men,
the old
women too.
adults.
Yeah, exactly. Right now they're focusing on like the one quadrant,
Yeah.
the 3 to like 8 or whatever that age ranges for the Lego products, right? So my question is, did Universal have some sort of tracking behind the scenes where like they're looking at the data being like, okay, so our movies made a lot of money from like these 3 quadrants. So like our age and up. So like we grew up with the movies, Jurassic Park will always resonate with us and older, right?
Hmm.
What if the newer kids are less versed in the Jurassic or they don't care about it as much, right? That's why they're like being focused at these little kids to get them like hooked on the Jurassic so they can grow with the stuff like us. Is that potentially what happened?
I mean, my feelings there were mostly based in a branding conversation. just because I was like thinking about like how the franchise is being handled, and I see Disney Plus and the way they're presenting Star Wars and marketing and branding Star Wars is just it's just done really well. And like
It's more premium.
it will, yeah. And so like I think there's an opportunity there for
Mhm.
Peacock to do that with Jurassic. Just and not and like licenses and money and demographics aside, it's like it's an opportunity for them to present Jurassic in a way that pops, in a way that's branded well. It's sleek, it looks good, it makes you even if it is on other platforms, it makes you want to watch it on theirs.
Yeah,
I
and
So
think
think
it's
about
also
this. Platforms when they launch, they try and launch with some fantastic new content to
something to hook
drive
you, like The
people in, to
Mandalorian.
hook people. Uh, I don't think the Lego show is going to bring in that many subscribers. I don't think Peacock. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think Peacock has that many subscribers. I feel like
That's the
if
thing,
they,
they don't. They're not
yeah,
run well from the beginning. So I think this
yeah,
this all goes back to the issues of management of what you're talking about. It's
yeah,
how they're managing this franchise. I think it's not this franchise. It's all their franchises. If you
mhm.
look across the board, Universal is not doing that hot. Aside from Oppenheimer, but it's not a franchise. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like their franchises aren't as hot as they used to be. So Jurassic, uh, it's in a lull right now. There's no movies coming out. Fast and Furious movies, the sharp declines in seven, quality
Mhm.
and box office wise. So they have a big issue there. Their number one money maker right now is no longer making them like boku dollars. So they're in trouble there. So it's only a matter of time before they bring their number one back. And I think there's the only positivity I see in all this is with all these major blockbusters coming out this year and just eating shit and flopping. I'm hoping that Hollywood looks at itself and is like, okay, all those like Jurassic World was a very much a product of that 2010s to like 2016 era of like all like MCU esque action blockbuster, right? Like everything was copying the MCU format. And I think
Yes.
now that we've started seeing, even the MCU is starting to see a decline in its popularity, right? Less and less people care about it. The movies are making less
Yeah.
money, less viewers in their TV shows,
Superhero
even.
fatigue is not just exclusive to the superhero movies,
Sorry,
unfortunately.
Assis, you
Exactly.
said it's only a matter of time, and it's only a matter of time before this lost world is found and pillaged.
I think
Yes.
see that the positive thing I'm saying is I think Hollywood's already pillaged this lost world. So the only way we come back from this is going back to the old way of making the blockbusters of legitimately having something to tell, making it like grand but not overly grand just for the sake of spectacle, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So I think moving forward in the next Jurassic Park, I think Universal will see other missteps from the past couple years. I hope, because they're not making money, and that's the biggest indicator of success, right? If they're seeing the money is not as fat in the pockets, you got to make changes. I
And what
hope.
we was mentioning before is that because it's the 30th anniversary, they must be realizing that the Jurassic Park brand is still making bank. Like
Still
all
has
these
power.
limited run is going to sell out. All the Jurassic Park tie-in products are selling out. It's all going quickly. Even Mattel 93 Classics flew off the shelves as far
I
as
didn't
I
even
could
see get. I
tell.
didn't get a chance to see them in stores. They were gone that quick.
Well,
Yeah, and
and
I
so
feel like that should tell them, okay, well maybe we should go park. And I know the Lego show's gone park, but maybe we should go park and do something live action that is kind of in that era.
yeah, no, I mean, so Jurassic World made $1 billion pretty easily. Fallen Kingdom didn't make it as easily. Dominion
Oh,
made a
yeah,
billion
that's right.
dollars, but it took a lot
It
longer.
it crawled to the end. I remember like watching it. They were like it was like it took like it made 1 billion and like 11,000. So it
Yeah.
squeaked over the edge.
Well, but what I'm getting at though is like there
So
are
funny.
studios there are studios in Hollywood that are really struggling financially right now, like Warner Brothers is an example.
Mhm,
Um and I'm not trying to like shade anybody, but like um Universal is I would just from what I am aware of is like everybody's struggling a little bit financially just with the things that have been going on in the entertainment industry, but like
mhm.
Universal is still one of the like wealthiest film studios there is. Like they have a lot of cash laying around. And so like I think I mean, and this is just my opinion, I think they get a little complacent with certain things.
Mhm.
And I think that if I think they a lot of the message of the Jurassic movies is capitalism run amok and worrying about money before anything else. And I think Universal Studios worries about money before anything else. And
I
I
agree with
think
that.
that is to their downfall in some areas, because I feel like they're more worried about like, let's just make whatever we can for our franchises no matter what it is, or they're like, let's just have this licensed here or streaming there because it's making us money right now, when like an organized way of branding and marketing your franchise would make you a lot more money in the long run.
Yeah, it
So
does all feel a little aimless. And the
yes.
Jurassic World movies, um, you could say in a way didn't even follow their own storyline at points. They Dominion didn't feel like a sequel to Fallen Kingdom, whereas Fallen Kingdom doesn't quite feel like a sequel to Jurassic World. I mean, it does, but you know what I'm saying. They kind of
Yeah.
it sets this big thing up at the end of the film, and then the kind of next movie doesn't fully address it or address it in the right way. And I feel like it just feels a little aimless. Whereas uh, Battle at Big Rock, so that came out just
What an
before
anomaly in hindsight, eh? What
an
an
anomaly
anomaly.
for
We
sure.
were talking about that, like, remember when we got a Jurassic World short film just out of nowhere, and like that was the short form content that was coming out for Jurassic?
And it was good.
And that felt right. I mean, that
Battle at
felt
Big Rock
like
is so fantastic. I love it.
it's the
It holds
way
up. I
it was
watched the other
supposed to
month. It holds
be.
up.
When did that come out? Just after Fallen
2019,
Kingdom.
September 2019.
So just after Fallen Kingdom, a year
Yeah,
Just
or
after
so
year
I finished
after.
basic
Yeah.
training, baby.
It's a shame
I remember that
because
day.
Man,
there should have been
the
the
pandemic
plan was more.
fucked up everything.
The plan was to
Yeah,
make
for sure.
more of those. I remember that
Yeah.
was always what was talked about, whether or not that was actually going to happen. Colin definitely spoke of making more short films in that kind of style to fill in the gaps, I guess. And that really was, and it still is, the route that Universal should take. Maybe they don't want to commit to a full series, live action series. Maybe they don't want to commit to a full movie, another movie, but maybe they should commit to a couple shorts on Peacock. Maybe
I
that's the way
mean,
to go. Set the tone, see which ones work better. You know, I,
what I
The
I
was saying
question is,
about
how much
Universal,
money do they cost? How
well,
much? Do we know how
that's
much Battle of Big Rock cost?
um
probably too much.
I've heard a number before, but I don't remember what it was. But like,
I think I've heard a number. I want to say 17 million.
I want
Does
to
that
say
sound right?
it was 20 or 30, but I'm not
Okay,
sure.
and that was about
Um,
7-ish minutes long, right?
Battle at Big Rock is 8 minutes, isn't it? I don't know.
Something like that. 8 minutes.
Something
Yeah.
like that. So if you scale that up to like a 40-minute TV show, and each TV show can have like a $30 million like action bit or like effects budget, if that makes sense. And if you can get a show that looks like Battle of Big Rock on TV, you're laughing. You're laughing to the bank, my friends. Because I think
Absolutely.
the TV show will look like a Battle of Big Rock. If there's a live action, that's what it would look like in terms of scale, the way it's shot almost, I think.
Yeah.
Because it feels smaller budget, like the shots are just closer, tighter, everything feels more compact. I think that's the way to do it. And I think it can be done, but like I think you're right, Caleb. I think the big P
The Big
kind
P.
of kind of derailed everything for Universal.
Oh yeah. I understand what you're saying. When you said the Big P, I thought you meant Peacock, but you meant
I was
the
thinking
other
Peacock too.
the other Big
Oh,
P,
okay.
which is the pandemic. But no, like, so my my personal standard for like when I think of like high-end TV shows is like HBO. Like they make some great TV
Mhm.
shows. And so but they really invest in the writing side and the production and the effects and everything like that. Like, and so like their one episode of their shows costs a lot of money. But like Universal has the money to do that. So
Can I just surprise you guys? Because while you were talking, I just googled what the budget for each episode of The Last of Us was,
uh
and I think it was New York Post, New York Reporter, or something. They're saying the New Yorker is saying the episode budget is between 10 to 15 million only.
okay. I mean,
Look at
but
the
that makes
quality of writing, effects, everything.
yeah, that makes
That's what you can
sense
pull off.
though. Yeah. But like that's 10 to 15 million is way more than other TV
It's a lot,
shows.
but it's something Universal can afford. Star Wars
Yes,
budgets are much
absolutely.
higher than that, and that's a Disney, but
Absolutely.
Universal is up there with the Disneys. They're not like a Lionsgate. They're Universal. This is like one of the biggest production companies on the planet.
Exactly.
They can afford 20 million an episode for Jurassic. You
Yeah.
put out 6 to 8 episodes, short series. It's not going to cost you much more, or roughly around as much as a blockbuster movie would cost you.
If you do 15 million an episode and you do 10 episodes, that's how much like
That's a movie.
that's a movie. Yeah, that's how much Dominion cost, right? Like 150, 170, right? So
It can't be this hard. Like, we can't be sitting here coming up with this, and Universal's been sitting on their hands for like who knows how long. What are they doing? Are they not having any strategy
I don't
meetings? Do
know.
they not care? Do we need a new CEO? What's
It's
going
like
on
they
here?
don't want to commit to something that is unproven. The movies are proven. They release a Jurassic movie, it's going to make some money. I think
Yeah.
I
that's
think
the,
maybe
and obviously,
Universal
yeah,
doesn't see. They might not see the value in streaming anymore, especially with what's going on and the strikes. We support strikes 100%. Screw the streamers, screw the companies. But maybe they're like legitimately that they see the value that there's like no money in streaming. Everyone's losing money on it, even Disney, right? So
Yeah.
maybe they're like, why invest 150 million to potentially get a little bit more ground in the streaming race that they're not going to win ever, anyways. And even if they can't even get to Disney level, and if Disney's losing money, Universal will never break even on this. So I don't think streaming is the way to go potentially at all. Maybe Universal just saw this earlier and like cut exit. Can't do it.
Yeah. Well,
That's my only other guess on that.
so on the whole, like, we want more thrills, horror, adult elements into this thing. I just am going to take this opportunity to establish myself as Assis is the resident lover of JP3 on this podcast. I'm I'm going to establish myself as the resident lover of Fallen Kingdom. But
oh man,
to
He's lost it.
but the point
lost
I'm
his
trying
mind.
to
I respect it, bro. I respect it.
the point I'm getting at here, because I was just thinking about the video that we did on the Outpost channel about like who should direct the next Jurassic thing. And I think if you look at Fallen Kingdom, the tone of that movie is it's different than Jurassic World, and it's different than Dominion. Like, and it's because we brought in outside direction. Jay Bayona had his own ideas
Mhm.
and his own way of crafting things, and there are some more horror and thrill elements in Fallen Kingdom that exclusive from World and Dominion. And so I guess the actual point I'm making here is that as we're heading towards more content here, whether it's a live action show, or streaming, or different content, or like commit to a few short films or whatever, I think an extremely valuable part of that is to do what we talked about in those videos on the Outpost channel, which is bring in new directors, bring in new minds, bring in new voices for the writing teams, do those things. Because I think it has at the very least, it has some results that are different from what we've seen before.
Look at
I talk.
what Dan Trachtenberg did to Prey, to the Predator
Yes.
franchise, should I
Yes.
say. Now, I know that people have mixed views on Prey, but I loved the movie. I thought it was
I loved
fantastic.
it too. It was great.
Yeah.
And I think the Predator franchise is one that started strong and kind of descended a little, right? And then Prey, I mean, feels like it got things back on track with fresh new talent involved.
I think it's a little bit of a different situation when you're talking about that type of franchise versus something like a Jurassic. I think people need to put a little bit more like stock into the fact that the original creators of the franchises, they actually kind of matter. Like, do you know who directed the first Predator movie? I
Dan
think it's John
Trachtenberg.
McTiernan. I think it was John McTiernan. I think, but the
Yeah, it
point
is.
is, like, you don't associate Predator with John McTiernan, but you kind of associate Jurassic Park with Steven Spielberg. You know what I mean? Like, if
Mhm.
Steven Spielberg is somehow not creatively involved, if they stray too far away from the originals, like we kind of with like I talked about this last time, like the Star Wars, like the new ones, don't feel kind of like Star Wars. They kind of feel like fan films. Same with the Jurassic World movies; they kind of feel like fan films of the Jurassic Parks, but a little bit to a lesser degree. And I don't know what's the reasoning for that, but I think for me personally, I always want to see somehow like produced by Frank Marshall, Kathleen Kennedy, or Steven Spielberg. I want to see them always tied to this franchise because I think it's more tied to them than people give it credit for. Like the next Jurassic's not going to happen until you like Steven's like, I got an idea.
I
You know what I mean?
think I think we need to get David Kep involved.
I don't
Yes.
think we do. He has a horrid track record now as well. I think we just stay away from. I think we have to keep like there's a certain track record of people. We don't like Frank Marshall as well. He kind of just came in. Like I was talking about this too. He kind of just became associated with Jurassic after the third one, even though only his like association was friends with Spielberg and his wife directed was producing as well, right? That's the only thing.
Yeah, he
And like
didn't technically produce the first three, and then
no,
suddenly he was Jurassic Park 4's producer.
so
And it
he's
was
the
Yeah.
very
lesser.
sudden.
You can remove him. So it's technically it's Kathleen Kennedy, it's Steven Spielberg. It is. That's what Jurassic.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
created by Kathleen Kennedy and Steven Spielberg. The first original, like the
Oh
first three
yeah.
movies.
I
But
also
then,
want
Those were the creative forces behind it.
I also want Janice Kaminsky to come back.
Oh, can you imagine?
so this was a point. Yeah, this is a really
Spielberg
good point.
directed
Jurassic
Cinematographer
Park
again.
and The Lost World, they're not horror movies, but they have horror elements, and I think The Lost World more than any is visually a horror movie.
Mhm.
The way he shot that movie is a horror.
I love
I think-
Janice Kaminsky so much.
Yeah, and I think
It's fantastic. Yeah,
I think we need to go back to that. Having what's his name? The cinematographer for Jurassic World and then Dominion,
Jason
Oh,
Schwartzman.
his
Jason
brother.
Schwartzman, John Schwartzman, one of the two.
Yeah,
it's
One's an
Colin.
actor, one's a
It's
cinematographer.
Colin Trevorrow's guy who he always works with.
yeah. But
Book
to
of
me,
Henry as
it's
well, yeah.
not. It doesn't work for Jurassic. It doesn't fit the aesthetic. Maybe it did work for the first one, the big open poppy feel, but it felt like when we were in the jungles of Nublar, we were just being shot by lights from all directions. There was no suspense in the visuals, and I think
I
that's
mean,
something
John
we're missing.
John Schwartzman is the
John
name.
John
Schwartzman.
Schwartzman. Thank you.
And
I would say
look at the Jurassic Park 3 birdcage sequence. Yeah, we were saying on the last podcast how Jurassic Park 3 doesn't have a consistent look throughout, and we know a lot of the reasons why. But you look at the birdcage sequence, and that again comes back to horror visuals, the whole mystery, what you don't see, the smoke, the
Mhm.
fog, and I feel like we are missing that aspect of it. So bringing
You have
back
to
some of
remember
that.
though, we need a veteran director. When Spielberg and Joe Johnston like made their movies, they weren't like picture 2 or 3 into their careers. Like Joe Johnston at that point had a huge history back into Star Wars, like his pre-production stuff. Like he was an artist on Star Wars and stuff.
Mhm.
Spielberg, he made like epic movies before Jurassic. Um, those were the guys who aren't going to make these like rookie mistakes. Like Colin was in like picture 2, picture 4, picture 3. You know what I mean? For like Dominion and Jurassic World. J.A.
Mhm.
Bayona didn't have that much under his belt, but what he did have under his belt elevated Fallen Kingdom. Fallen Kingdom looks the best since I would
Oscar
say The
Fora.
Lost World.
Oscar Fowra. He is,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
Oscar Fowra did Battle at Big Rock too.
No, Battle
Did
of
he
Big
not?
Rock
No, that was someone else. That was someone
um,
else. Greg Fraser?
I can't remember his name. It wasn't him, but a very similar visual style.
Yeah.
In the way Battle at Big Rock was shot. It's a
Oh,
famous
it's Larry Fong.
Larry Fong. Yeah,
Very
yeah.
long. There he is.
Which
There
we
we
all
go.
thought after that he was going to come back for Dominion, and then
Yeah.
Colin went with John Schwartzman again. Which sure they have a great working relationship, but I feel like John Schwartzman's visuals are very just Hollywood bright.
Very by the books, very corporate.
In
Very
my
special.
opinion, the
Light, everything bright.
Dominion cinematography was grander
better.
and better than Jurassic World, but that's just my
I
opinion.
agree with that.
It was, yeah, I would agree with that too. It was better. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I mean, Spielberg's modern work doesn't give me any reason to think, oh, I want him on the next Jurassic, if that makes sense. Like, I get what you're saying, Assis. I'd always want him associated, but I feel like he hasn't. He's kind of strayed away from the first.
Exactly, and look at the end product. That's what I'm trying to say. Look, the
I thought
farther
you said
away
you
the
wanted his
creators
name on
get,
it, though. It wouldn't be Jurassic without his name on it.
the farther away the creators get from their projects, like from the like, it's I know it's bad to like tie a franchise to like an artist like this, but like it's still like he created this. It wouldn't be what it is with if someone else directed this. It'd be a different thing entirely. But like, I forgot what I was trying to say with this. But Spielberg is just like I think if he came back to direct it, he wouldn't direct it like he would direct his modern movies. He would direct it like a Jurassic Park movie because he established what a Jurassic Park movie is with the first two. So essentially, it's like he's the author of the rule book. So if he comes in with a new movie and he's writing the rule book again, he's updating the rules. So whatever he says is gospel kind of thing. That's how I
It
kind
would
of see it.
be if he happened. It won't happen. But if he
It
ever
won't. It
was
won't
like,
happen. Never.
"Oh,
Never. Never.
Spielberg's going to direct a Jurassic," I would like to think he'd sit down with Kep and he'd sit down with Kaminsky and they'd sit in a room. They'd watch the first two and be like, "Right, okay, all right, we know what we got to do here." And
But
I
they're
would
not
like
even
to.
infallible. Look what happened with Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. Like, look how that turned out. Like, I know people, some I think a majority of fans liked it, but like overall, it bombed, crashed, and that was a loved franchise too.
That
And
felt
like,
like a movie that didn't need to happen. Really didn't need to
no, of
happen.
course not. Just Jurassic World need to happen. Did any of the
I
Jurassic
well,
Park need to happen
I
aside from the first?
enjoyed Dial of Destiny a lot, and it's miles better than Crystal Skull. But like, yeah, no,
I
the
haven't
and
seen it,
I
so
have no opinion on
the
it.
last
can't
thing
comment.
I'll say there is that James Mangold has my seal of approval for a Jurassic director's chair. But yeah,
See, that's part of the issue. Like it feels like someone copying, trying to copy and trying to imitate. It's too much of an
yeah,
imitation in a way. That's the issue. It's like even if James Mangold came in, he'd try to imitate a little bit of what he did with Spielberg and like Indiana Jones in Jurassic Park. I don't think it's going
sure.
to translate. It's going to feel like
That's why,
copycat.
to one of your points, bringing in fresh talent. Look at what
Yeah,
Prey did. You know, Dan Trachtenberg just came in with a completely different angle and view, and managed to make something that was pretty fantastic. I mean,
And he's had a
I'm sure
limited
there's Predator fans
filmography
out there
too, but
that didn't like it, but then there's a lot of Predator movies. I don't know how many Predator movies are there. Aliens versus Predator aren't really
there
considered to be
are
great
four.
movies, are they? So
Prey
I
was
don't know.
like if you include if you don't
Prey is
include
number four, right?
the alien
Five.
ones, it's like 5, I think. Yeah.
Wow. If
No,
wait,
but
without AVP, there's
I think
five
five.
Predators.
yeah, I
Wow.
believe so. Yeah. No. The argument I would like to use Prey to make for Jurassic is that we need someone to make
Why change?
prequels. But yeah.
So
Prequels
that
never
that
hurt.
leads me into this before we close out. I want to go into some questions that have been submitted through
Oh
Twitter,
yeah, I
right?
was gonna ask if we were gonna do that.
We are going to do that.
Oh,
And
and
there is
hey,
there
I there were a couple of good ones we got on Instagram too. If we wanted.
Okay, remember those. So to what you said though, there, there was a question here. So this is by MB Founder. Should the Jurassic franchise do prequels rather than sequels? What do you think?
No, because I think no, because I think like what can you honestly tell in terms of a compelling story that's not going to be like because we know the end product, we know what Jurassic Park resulted in, we know what Jurassic World resulted in. We know that whatever happens in between, like a prequel movie, it's gonna be like someone trying to sabotage it or the trials and tribulations. I don't think it's a compelling enough story following young John Hammond trying to build a park. I just don't see enough drama. It'd be too much of a biography and not enough of a Jurassic Park movie. It'd be a drama, man. It wouldn't be a Jurassic Park movie.
Personally, yeah, I've never understood the idea of like a Hammond prequel, or
Yeah,
I
it would be
understand
like
the idea.
Oppenheimer. Wrong.
I understand the idea of like a prequel before the incident at Jurassic Park, where we get more of the park as it was built. But I also feel like there isn't really much to say there because the opening of Jurassic Park showed us what it was like, especially when they delivered the raptors.
Yeah.
I feel like a prequel at this point can be considered a prequel to Jurassic World. It can be considered
Yes.
a
Okay.
prequel to even
That's
JP3. I think there was
okay.
a
That's
question here.
if you consider like a movie like for example like set in 96 Site B before Clarissa, if that's a prequel then I would say yes, but as long as it's not pre Jurassic Park 1. You can do prequels not pre JP1.
That's what I
If
was
that
gonna
makes sense.
say. Like going back to my rambling about Star Wars is that I would love as many prequels as many prequel stories as we are willing to tell, because a prequel can be, it doesn't have to be like before everything. It can be before the Lost World, what InGen was doing on Sorna before the Lost World, or what InGen was doing on Sorna after the Lost World before Jurassic Park
Yes.
3.
That's more interesting. We don't know. They're
Exactly.
bankrupt. They're supposed to be good.
And then
I was
like
intrigued.
what about after, like close in time after Jurassic Park 3, after the incidents of that movie? Like
Yeah, so one thing that really, I've said this before, But it bothers me about the Jurassic World movies is they don't address what happens at the end of Jurassic Park 3. And sure, 12, 15, 20 years, I don't know how many years on it's supposed to be now at this point. 20, I can't remember. But the pteranodons at the end of Jurassic Park 3 fly off the island and they're emigrating, right? They move. What happened?
And
We
then
don't know
4 years
what happened.
later, the park opens. I think doesn't the park open in 05 in the universe? Like,
Is it
so you're
05?
telling me? I
It's
think so. The
wild to
Pteranodons
me.
escape in 01, and then 4 years later, there's a brand new park. What happened in those 4
Yeah, what
volatile
happened?
years?
And I
Where
feel
are the
like
protests? People being like, "Yo, I was mauled by a T-Rex in San Diego, dude. What are you talking about? Bringing back like a
the
park? What are you
impact on
talking
the
about?
world,
I
that was
think
Lost my
something
dad
we've
there."
talked about before. Like people's reaction we see in Jurassic Park 3, the audience in Grant's speech know about the dinosaurs, they know about the islands, they know about the incident in San Diego. It's now this real world issue, but
absolutely.
we skip
It
ahead
was
too
never
far
an
in
issue in
Jurassic
the
I
World.
Jurassic
think
World movies.
I think
That was the important
prequels have, set in between the established films, have the opportunity to answer a lot of those questions.
Yes. Yeah, and the John Sayles Jurassic Park 4 script has its faults. We all know that. But it opens with the Pteranodons at the end of JP3 attacking a Little League baseball game in Vancouver, of all places, I think. And it's such a great scene. It's so well written. And I mean, personally, I want to see that. I want to see those Pteranodons coming in and being like, you know what, let's fuck shit up.
The ones captured by Vic Hoskins, you mean, over
Yeah,
Canada somewhere?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Like, that's another thing. We gotta stop relying on, like, I don't wanna read, like, if you put out an official novel, I'll read the lore, but, like, you shouldn't have to rely on a website and having to click through links, trying to, like, find the missing pieces to make up for, like, plot holes in the movie. Do you know what I mean? The movie should be standalone
Yeah.
within itself. I shouldn't have to I shouldn't even need to know that Vic Hoskins, like, we should know what happened to the Pteranodons.
I think. Yeah, I think.
Whatever.
No, I agree, but I also think
I've
that
been
like
so heated this episode.
there should be short
Take off my
and
sweater.
long form content that also presents those answers and question and like the stories of those things happening. Just because they're on a lore website, like doesn't mean that they can't be, if we want them to be, I guess, adapted and be part of these other short and long form stories that we want to come out. But
Agreed. Agreed. So just speaking of the prequel thing, there is a question here that would kind of relate. This is by Ruanton. Sorry if I mispronounced that. What happened to Sarah Harding, played by Julianne Moore? What happened to the Spinosaurus from JP3? Is the San Diego incident part of the continuity in the Jurassic World universe?
it
I think
is.
it is, right?
It
It
must be,
is.
yeah. But I'm more intrigued by the what happened to Sarah Harding because she should have come back in Dominion. That would have made
Absolutely.
sense. What
We
happened
were
to Sarah Harding?
Me, Jack, and
They
Chris
broke up, bro.
mentioned that like 2 pods ago. We were like Sarah Harding and Nick Van Owen, like come
Nick
back
Van
and
No.
Owen.
follow dinosaurs in the wild.
Oh, I
Sorry,
thought you
just
meant
to
as an
point
item.
out
I
as
was
well
like, what?
that part in the Lost World, Sarah Harding. How many Sarahs do you think are on this island? And then later in the film, when they arrive at the complex that Nick's already
Nick
arrived
Van
at,
Owen.
and he's like, Nick Van Owen, come
Nick,
on.
Nick Van
It's
Owen.
clever writing like that I miss.
David Kemp, ladies and
Exactly. Yeah.
David Kemp isn't what he used to be with that. It's good shit back then, man. Good shit back
Yeah.
then.
Do we want to do this Instagram question?
Do
Let's
it.
do it.
So this is from Cooper Sean Clark on Instagram.
Great name.
It's Cooper.
It's Cooper. He's a professional. He can
You
handle
hit
it
me, bro.
himself.
Get back in the plane.
Yeah,
You
idiot.
know I can't stop this plane. So Cooper's question is, who on the podcast thought that Barbasol was whipped cream because Dennis Nedry put it on his food at the start?
Yeah, yeah.
The one
did as a
person
kid.
eating that pie definitely thought that.
They had
It still
interesting
looked
stomach
appetizing as a
issues
kid.
after that.
That's so funny.
Soapy pie.
So
No,
one at least one more interesting question from people on Instagram, and this is from Muzamil. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but
Oh, you know him.
their question is, if JW Jurassic World gets a 10th anniversary celebration in 2025, what would you
Oh.
hope to see done similarly or differently from the recent Jurassic Park anniversaries?
Have
An
us
event.
Have us
Yes.
host it again, baby.
A
We
fan
did the first
event.
ever Jurassic World event, right?
Yeah.
It's only right if we came back for the next Jurassic World event, like the anniversary. It should be Outpost hosting it.
Come on.
I mean, that's all I
Come
gotta
on.
say about that. That's easy.
Yeah, no, I think there needs to be a fan meetup. I don't understand. Look, we were coming out of the P word, so
Yeah,
maybe that's part of the reason Universal didn't want to commit to like let's get
100% probably.
everybody
Yeah,
together in one place. But by 2025, I feel like that's the thing to
yeah.
do, and it
It's time. I want to see my friends in public again.
should be yeah, yeah. I want to go out the house for once. No, it would be nice to do it at the parks as well. You know, have
I
an
want to
event.
see Jack outside his backdrop.
Jurassic World. Yeah, I need to get away from this Beyond the Gates set, man.
That's all I've seen him
I've
behind.
been
I
here
want
for
to see him
3 years.
in real life.
So,
Um,
one more good Instagram question comes from Calum Beckinsale at Telekinistic Man on Instagram. So, and his question is, do you feel as if the generation growing up with the Jurassic World films will be inspired to learn more about dinosaurs in the same way that the children of the 90s did with Jurassic Park?
100%.
And he
yeah,
also says something. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think that it is inspirational in that way. But like he makes an interesting point, which is that I feel as if the focus on hybrids and treating the dinosaurs as scaly monsters, he might have meant scary instead of scaly, but I'm not sure, and not focusing strongly on paleontologist protagonists has made the actual dinosaurs feel like set dressing or as any other generic monsters in big blockbuster films. Kids
Very
still
strong
love
agreed.
dinosaurs, but I don't think their interest will persist into their adulthood as much. And Jurassic
mm,
World hasn't done much to push the public understanding of dinosaurs forward either. I don't know if I fully agree with that part, but you make a good point about the hybrids and not focusing on paleontologist protagonist part. Like
yeah.
I would love it if we focused more on paleontologist protagonists for sure. So
The dinosaurs in the Jurassic World movies, for the most part, this is a generalization statement, but they feel like monsters than the originals, which treated them like animals. And I feel like that plays a part in that. But also, the very simple visual of a dig site is something Jurassic Park 3 got right. Remember the dig site? Remember
yeah,
paleontology? Remember
Oh my
dinosaur
god, there's
bones in
not
the
enough
ground?
dig
rough,
sites in this franchise,
smooth,
man.
Have
rough,
we
You're so
had a
right.
smooth.
single have we had a single scene like that in the
Yes.
Jurassic World movies?
Yeah, Jurassic
Dominion,
World #1.
but yeah,
And #3 and #2
I
Dominion had
think
that too,
so.
actually.
In my
Oh, true.
opinion,
Yeah.
yeah.
This shows how much I don't remember Dominion. There
In
is a
my
dig site
opinion,
scene in
though,
that, but it's
like
weird as hell.
The Jurassic brand does, like, whether it's Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, the Jurassic brand does a lot for like dinosaur awareness in the
Of
public.
course. Hmm.
And like people will be like, or they'll
There's a little
see
story about that.
Jurassic merch that I have or like something I have in my office or something, and they're like, oh, they like they know immediately that I like Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, but then like it's also immediately like, you must love dinosaurs. Like
It's a
that is
talking
also
point.
associated with that. And so
Mm.
like, yeah, I think it's obviously not like exactly the same just because the trilogy and the stories are different, but like I do think it inspires like people to study dinosaurs and be
100%.
paleontologists.
I
So
think any dinosaur media,
yeah,
Jurassic Park seems to be one of the only dinosaur media out there, but it really
Don't
would
forget
inspire.
Prehistoric Planet in the new one, the Amblin show that's coming out. That's going to do a lot to
Yeah.
push like
don't
real
forget
dinosaurs.
Carnosaur with Laura Dern's mom.
I've
Don't
never
forget
seen
that
that
one.
one.
Oh wow, yes, dude. The Carnosaur 3, which was released as Primal Species back in the UK. That's what it was called.
Wow.
That holds tight. I love that.
I
Absolutely.
will just say
Beast
though
CV.
about the I would say don't have fear about future generations having the lack of interest in dinosaurs. My little cousins in South America, I think one is 7 now and the other is 11. They grew up on Jurassic World over Jurassic Park movies. And for the oldest birthday this year, you know what they did? They had a Jurassic World themed birthday with the gates and everything, Jurassic Park cake. You know what he wants to be when he grows up? A paleontologist.
Yeah,
So I think
Love
Jurassic
that.
World is
Yeah,
still pushing it. It's still
that's
pushing
absolutely.
it
great.
for the kids.
No,
And great
that's
to see
that's
that.
true. That's true. That's really great. What are the
Yeah,
kids
it's
that grew up
fantastic.
with Marvel movies going to want to be when they're older?
Superheroes,
Thor.
Superheroes.
bland directors.
So here's a question from
Oh.
Twitter.
Oh,
Yeah, more
Wait.
Twitter questions.
Okay, so this question, be honest. Do you think that the Jurassic World trilogy was what the fans expected or deserved after Jurassic Park 3?
I want to say no.
Silence.
That's not what I expected. I
Says
mean,
it
we talked
all.
about this on the last episode, Jack. You and I, we had a story about. We remember where we were and our reaction to the Joe Blow article or Collider article about what Jurassic Park 4 was going to be, the
Oh
new
yeah, I
park,
remember
and
y'all
we were
talking
all
about
like,
that.
"Oh no,
Yeah.
that's not what I wanted or expected." I expected as a kid growing up something in the vein of John Sayles, kind of like a continuation of the parks, not like a I didn't even conceive of a new park because I thought the first movie already addressed it. It would never work anyways. So why retread it and show that it worked just to show that it won't work? It's
Yeah.
retreading the same ground. I saw no point in
To
it
me,
back then. I still see no point in it today.
it almost feels a bit lazy when you think of it like that. And I
Yeah,
feel like after JP3 coming away from that in that 15-year period, to me the island still felt a little bit unexplored. And there was other islands in the island chain. What was it? Was InGen using any of those other islands? There was so much about the islands that had been abandoned that I still wanted to see. And I feel like we never really got that. And we never got Sauna. What
Yeah.
happened with that?
Well, my
I mean, you
my
guys would know more, right?
my open piggyback answer off of that is that like living through the 15-year period of no Jurassic content
I
and
loved it
like
though.
seeing it was an interesting time. I
That's
think,
how I met
and
Jack, and like that's how I'm here today. I met you guys
yeah,
through that, I guess, gap. I wouldn't have met Caleb because I hadn't have met Jack and Chris
yeah.
if it had not been for that gap.
JurassicPark4.org.
JP4.org,
I
baby.
no, like,
We
so
want for a campaign,
I
baby. I
Yeah,
remember.
baby. Send that.
side
We sent it.
It worked. It worked.
side note
You're
that
welcome.
like is a conversation for
Blame
another
Jack.
time, but like I want a documentary about like the making of the entire Jurassic franchise that includes that
100%.
period and like what it was like to live through that, because it was just such a strange, at times exciting, at times disappointing, at times very odd. Like, I remember after I saw The Lost World, I was like, okay, more Jurassic, typing into Google in like 2004, I was like, more Jurassic sequels, and then Jurassic Park 3, and it was like, then you had like all the rumors about JP3 Extinction, like, or Jurassic Park 4 Breakout, like all these different, like there were so many like inaccurate rumors and like things that were going to happen. And so I'm rambling, but so my answer to that question though is that like I'm someone who loves what the story that the Jurassic World movies told, but the story that they told is one of about 1,000 stories you can tell in the Jurassic universe, because you are correct that the islands are so unexplored, and like so many aspects of InGen's history are unexplored. And I don't know, so like that's kind of my take on it, is that like they chose a story to tell as like the sequel trilogy, but like that doesn't mean that there aren't 900 other stories to tell. So
But
yeah.
then I'm concerned, like, the only, like, way I see Universal continuing, like, the Jurassic World Dominion route is, like, at some point, they will have a sequel where either the dinosaurs are starting to encroach on our land, or there's too many of them, they're killing our fauna or something, but, like, dinosaurs are gonna be, like, threatening us with extinction or something. I'm
Mm.
so scared that that's the direction they're gonna take this. It's like the dinosaur threat to humanity, you know what I mean?
And
Mhm.
It's like
we've
there's
got
too
to
many now.
we've got to
I
call
think
up.
that's what they kind of pigeonholed themselves in a way, like, because of what they've done with the Jurassic World movies. Like, now we know that we cannot touch how dinosaurs go to mainland, like how they get worldwide, because it's already been covered now. It's been, I guess, done in my opinion less than satisfactory way. So I wasn't happy with it. So now we're never have to see that again. So I'm bummed about that. And that's why I think I look back on the Jurassic Park 4 waiting era so fondly, is because one, I was younger, and two, like, the future was anything. It was
Sure.
literally whatever I thought it was. Jurassic Park 4 was whatever I thought. But now we're kind of like constrained as to what the future can be because of what has come the last three movies that have come before, if that makes sense.
The
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
dinosaurs are encroaching on our land. We got to call up Dom Toretto and his Dodge Charger to
I'm scared that that's also another thing
wrangle
with
them up.
how Fast and Furious needs an injection, and like they've already
Listen,
gone to space. What are they gonna do? Go back in time,
I
or are they gonna do Jurassic Park? It's gonna be one
I
of the two, man.
I am an open-minded person about all this stuff, but a Fast and Furious crossover with Jurassic World is something that would I would vomit. I would hate. I do absolutely not. No.
There's too many creatives at Universal who are like associated with Universal who have already like been like in during the lead up to Dominion or whatever. We're like, yeah, a crossover with Fast and Furious. I'd be totally down with that. That sounds like great. Like I think Justin Lin at one point was like before he got kicked off like Fast and Furious or whatever. He was like, yeah, a crossover with Jurassic Park would be interesting. I think it could work. Yeah, yeah. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. All you guys leave now.
Yeah.
There's too much bad energy behind the scenes at Universal.
Here's
You're
one
gonna go
more
that route.
question from Twitter, which I think is kind of a different track. But Danny asks, what will be the next top Apex Predator for the coming trilogy?
T
Since
Rex,
all the
baby.
Rexes seem to be retired.
New T Rex. You got to go back to the basics. You got to go simple.
Another T
That
Rex.
or like a raptor. You got to go super basics. You can't have 15 species. You got to have like a T Rex, raptor, and like two other
A
ones maybe.
smaller story, if they do it, whether it's a spin-off or a live action, needs to focus more on raptors and not the Raptor squad. Raptors that evolved in the first, second, and third movie, I think. I'd like to see an evolution of what happened to those
So wait,
raptors.
what is the official like at the end of Dominion? Is Blue and Beta are they the only raptors left?
I think.
Like I don't know the answer. Like is are they the
Well,
only ones?
did they kill? I can't remember. Did they kill the atrocities?
I don't
Did they
know.
I
die?
don't know. They're not all dead. No.
Also, are they the only velociraptors left as we know them? Like the Sorna, where are the Sorna dinosaurs? They're not on the sanctuary, and there's no raptors on sanctuary. So
In my mind and headcanon, there are still raptors on Sorna.
Yes. I think most
Regardless.
fans who
but all the
feel
Sorna
the
dinosaurs are
same
on
way as us.
sanctuary now.
I think in my opinion, it is absolutely impossible to capture every dinosaur on Isla Sorna. There's
I think you're
no
right.
way you would ever get them all.
It's such
But
an easy thing. In the movie, they're like, "I thought you had them all." Like, no, there's more of it than we thought. Or even go to, like the sales script. They're like,
you
"Oh, they're
think
underground now."
you
Like
think in you
Scavaraptors.
think InGen and Masrani and these people are good enough to get a 100% track rate on capturing
Simon
dinosaurs
Masrani
and
was
transporting
nominated for
them?
the Nobel
No.
Peace Prize. Wasn't that in the background material somewhere?
What was what in there?
Nobel Peace Prize for Masrani.
Oh, I don't have any personal problem with Masrani. I just think InGen and Masrani, the companies are not run perfectly. But yeah.
I
God, I
think
hope we see more of that.
I think it's a personal thing. Like in that 15 years of waiting, like you said, it felt like it could go anywhere. And then if you weren't happy with what the Jurassic World movies did, then I still like to think, well, I feel like there's dinosaurs on Sauna for sure, and I feel like Sauna hasn't really been touched. Yeah, sure they took some DNA and dinosaurs from there, but they didn't take the. I think I'd like to think the island is as it was.
I think
I
those
mean, we also got to remember it's a
raptors
whole
I think
island.
those raptors are smart enough to
Mhm.
elude things is what
For
I
sure.
think. So, yeah.
But I think
Look at us trying to. I think this is like this stays like talks to the state of the franchise. Like, look how Dominion has left us, where we're like trying to find caveats and like ways around what we've been given to kind of like to make up for the disappointment. It's like, oh, they told us there's no more Sorna dinosaurs. Shit. Well, hopefully, maybe there are. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
Right.
that false sense of hope. It's like, why
yeah,
are we left in this state?
And
Why are
that
we having false hopes
yeah,
that's
no.
why
for
the
being excited for
next
the future?
whatever it is needs to go back, and there is that 15-year gap both in
Yeah.
the timeline. I mean, yeah, sure, Jurassic World was supposed to have opened in 2005, but there is a gap there, especially after the Lost World, where we really can tell certain stories, and I think it would be very
And
entertaining
like
and very worthwhile to go back to that.
Mhm.
yeah, and like in the Lost World, you have a change in leadership at the company. They sort of take it over from Hammond because they think that he's incompetent or something, and like there's a change like between then and Jurassic World. There's a change in leadership at who was in charge of all this, who owned InGen, what company was in charge, and like there had to be some headbutting there and some interesting things as far as like transporting dinosaurs and assets and things like that. Um, but what we were just saying goes to what I was talking about like franchise management. Like we need to have established timelines and established guidelines and like what year this happened and what year that happened and things like that. But yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for submitting those questions. There's been some good ones. It was a good idea, Assis. We haven't done that in a while, and that does
Yeah.
always promote some good
Love
discussion.
questions.
I think this is a good place to end. The
long one.
state of the franchise. Where are we at? Who knows? Who knows what's coming next? Nobody knows except the executives at Universal. What's coming next is the Lego thing. So
Yeah,
very
we know what's
exciting.
coming next.
Can't wait for that. Really excited. But there is an animated show coming. We know that the next Camp Cretaceous, whatever it's going to be, is coming. So hopefully that may address some of our concerns. Maybe that will give us a story that takes place maybe pre-Dominion, post-Fallen Kingdom, and maybe it'll be a little bit more adult-orientated. Maybe one of you guys made this point about how maybe they're waiting for the Jurassic World audience, the younger Jurassic World audience, to kind of grow with them. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be that little bit more mature.
Moving forward, yeah.
It would be a complete misstep creatively to put out Camp Cretaceous season 2 or whatever follow-up and have it only targeted at kids again. It's like, what about the audience that grew with it?
Yeah,
That's a good
If
point.
that happens, then I'll know for sure Universal has no idea what they're doing with their franchise.
Yeah, we'll see when that first. I mean, the first teaser isn't going to be indicative, but the actual trailer when that comes out, we'll see what that show is going to feel like, and I think hopefully that'll give us an indication on where they think the franchise should.
We're crossing our fingers for more Jurassic horror stories. So
absolutely, yeah, I want horror. That's all I want. I want Jurassic Park, the horror. That would.
Well, if you think about it, we got a Jurassic World horror story, the trilogy right here. What a disaster this is! Man, I'm on fire today, guys. I'm on fire. Holy shit!
That is fantastic. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me, and everybody, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, check out JurassicOutpost.com. There's a website there, and there's some stuff on there, and there's some news on there, and it's a place to go. Remember .coms? Remember websites?
They're on there.
Remember when people had websites?
It's an interactive CD-ROM.
Remember JurassicPark.com? I went there on the Wayback Machine yesterday night. What a nostalgia trip. The OG one where you got to click on the gate too.
We need to go back to that. Remember LostWorld.com?
I missed that episode, but I listened to it when you guys went through it. Oh, baby.
We got to check that out. But yeah, check out JurassicOutpost.com. It is a website and there is stuff on there. And yeah, leave comments on the articles, get the conversation going. And yeah, I don't really know what to say. So thank you for joining. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks.